Hello there, everyone. We've finished our full playthrough of Resident Evil Code Veronica X on the GameCube, and I did mention that that was not the only platform that Code Veronica came out on, and depending on which version you got, you may have had a little extra something come along with your copy. That little extra thing you might have got may have very well have been this, an extra DVD called Wesker's Report. This extra DVD was a roughly 20 or minute long video that kind of helped to tie together a lot of the story up to that point. Now, I did not have a copy of Wesker's Report, but I had a buddy who did, and although we never sat down to watch together, he did tell me a bit about it. This was Capcom's first big attempt to sort of retcon and organize the story of the series at this point. So we're just going to take the time to go through this and watch it together. And eventually I'll chime in at a couple of times with my thoughts, or I may even pause the videos to expand upon my thoughts a little further. So without further ado, let's watch Wesker's Report.
My name is Albert Wesker. I aspired to become a leading researcher at Umbrella Inc., a pharmaceutical enterprise who covertly conducted bioorganic weapons, better known as BOW, for development. But at the Leader Development Training Ground situated in Raccoon City, I met a brilliant and talented researcher who made me decide to take a different path. William Birkin. In time, I shifted my position to S.T.A.R.S, a special forces unit of the Raccoon Police Department. Umbrella, for crisis management reasons of their illegal bioorganic weapons development, had many of its people working in the police department. I became the leader of S.T.A.R.S and conducted all sorts of intelligence activities for Umbrella. As I continued to serve, I devised my own plans and waited for the right moment to execute them. Then at last, opportunity knocked. The freak murder incident that occurred in a forest near the mansion started it all. The mansion was Umbrella's secret BOW laboratory, and it was clear that the in-development T virus was the cause of the murder. Initially, Umbrella instructed me secretively to keep S.T.A.R.S out of the case. But, with the heightened emotions of the citizens, S.T.A.R.S had no choice but to move in. That's when my next order was given. Dispatch S.T.A.R.S to the mansion, dispose of them, then report the situation to headquarters so that their combat with the BOW could be used for data analysis, allowing Umbrella a comprehensive portrait of the BOW's combat abilities. From the two S.T.A.R.S teams, I first pitched in the Bravo team. As expected, the top elite of S.T.A.R.S gave all they had and became useful sample data. Then following, I geared up the Alpha team to search and rescue the lost Bravo team. The members of the Alpha team also proved their worth, and as expected, many died. There were 5 survivors from the initial 11 S.T.A.R.S members. From the Alpha team were Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, and Barry Burton. And from the Bravo team were Rebecca Chambers and Enrico Marini.
I don't know what happened. What is that?
I'll go and check.
Okay, Jill and I will stay in the hall in case of an emergency.
Chris? Take care.
It was time to begin executing my plans. In the midst of the whole affair, I could take Umbrella's ultimate bioorganic weapon, the Tyrant, and join forces with an opposing corporation of Umbrella. To buy into that opposing corporation, I would need the actual combat data of the Tyrant. The surviving privileged members of S.T.A.R.S were just the perfect bait. I decided to have one of them play the Judas and draw them to the Tyrant. That Judas was Barry.
Barry!
Barry was the strong truth and justice kind and cherished his family more than anything. His type is easy to manipulate. I simply took that most important thing away from him. My only miscalculation was the high potential of Chris and Jill. But with the family man, Barry, playing the Judas, the scheme went as planned. Then the winds turned unexpectedly.
Jill. What good timing. A moment ago, I heard someone's voice coming from this hole.
Is that Jill?
Is that voice Enrico's?
Listen, the S.T.A.R.S are going to be finished soon. Someone is a traitor. Everything was plotted from the start by Umbrella.
I had to eliminate Enrico, who found out what was behind it all. I used Barry to get to him.
Alright, so from there, we hear that Wesker did say that he had Enrico taken out. But the way he words it leads me to believe that he had Barry do the killing. I've been under the impression that it was Wesker, in most of the cases, that did it there, especially considering that Barry's weapon of choice is the Magnum, and that would have been a much louder, much messier kill than that was. But let's keep going.
Enrico!
After I successfully got rid of that nuisance, I awaited the sample specimen that Barry would bring to me in the Tyrant's room.
Wesker?
You did a fine job, Barry.
Just as I thought. Why do you have to destroy S.T.A.R.S?
That's Umbrella's intention. This laboratory has been engaging in dangerous experiments, and recently an accident has occurred. Anyway, this disaster cannot be made public.
That's why having S.T.A.R.S nosing about is so inconvenient. So you're a slave of Umbrella now, along with these virus monsters.
Barry, go up on the ground and wait there.
Barry!
I just used him for my personal purposes, though both you and Barry seem to think I was following orders from Umbrella.
So you're planning something else?
If you succeeded in developing the world's most powerful biological weapon, what would you do? What if you were in charge?
So you're going to steal all the research?
Better yet, I'm going to show you the Tyrant.
I injected the virus I obtained from Birkin in advance. If I made Umbrella believe I was dead, it made it far more convenient to sell myself to the opposing corporation. According to Birkin, the virus had profound effects. It would put my body in a state of temporary death. It would then bring me back to life with superhuman powers. Therefore, I unleashed an awesome tyrant from its slumber and let it attack me.
What? Don't come this way! No!
As my consciousness faded away, I was certain that the whole scheme would end in success.
So here we have our first real major addition, or change to the story if you prefer. Wesker injects himself with a virus that will bring him back to life, and instead of being killed accidentally when he loses control of the Tyrant, he fakes his own death. The virus is not given a name at this point, and that may be addressed in future games, although I sincerely doubt it was the G virus. Depending on how you played through Resident Evil 1, Wesker could die in a couple of different ways, and in the battle mode on the Saturn version, he was a boss zombie. But the battle mode was something extra, it probably didn't really factor into the story. But I do believe that at that time, those circumstances kind of show us that they weren't planning on bringing Wesker back. This was something that they did in the future.
Never did I imagine that S.T.A.R.S could slay the evil creation. I lost the tyrant, and the plan I devised, which cost me my humanity, ended in failure. Now, anyone or anything that stood in my way would be terminated. It has been that way for a long time, and it always will be. At all costs, I had to make S.T.A.R.S pay.
Well, at this point, we've finished the events of the original Resident Evil. It's been pretty much confirmed for us that Chris and Jill survived the events of the mansion. But we don't know who else survived. Several times Wesker mentioned Barry, and in the earlier part of this clip, he did talk about Rebecca being one of the survivors. But at no point are we told if Rebecca or Barry survived their encounters in the mansion. Later games would give us the impression that Barry did, and there's nothing in the report that contradicts that, so it's perfectly fair to assume that Barry survived, and in later games we would find out that he did. Rebecca, on the other hand, we wouldn't find out her fate until much, much later.
Two months had passed since the mansion incident. To regain everything that I had lost in my new organization, I joined hands with Ada Wong, a female agent who was also sent to spy on Umbrella.
Identify yourself. Ada Wong. Ada Wong. I've heard that name before. I won't let anyone take the G-Virus away from me.
G-Virus?
I knew in my bones that the key developer was William Birkin. But what he didn't know was that Umbrella did not play games with anyone. Eventually, Birkin would be assassinated, and the G-Virus would be in the hands of Umbrella.
There he is.
So you finally come.
Doctor, we're here to collect the G-Virus sample.
Sorry, but I won't just hand over my life's work.
Doctor, you might hit the sample.
But the salvage team led by Hunk was ahead of us. By the time they got to Birkin, he had already injected himself with the G-Virus. He became his own creation and decimated them.
Roger. What is this thing? Fire! Fire! Son of a...
Soon after, the T-Virus carried by rats spread throughout Raccoon City, and Umbrella faced its worst scenario.
Well, there you have it in case you were wondering. It was in fact the T-Virus that spread in Raccoon City, and it was spread by rats. You can see in that cutscene that Birkin smashes, or steps on rather, a green vial. But it also looked like he had grabbed the purple vials and were consuming them, or consuming the contents in them, as if he was trying to get more G-Virus into his body. Which may add an interesting explanation as to why he was after Sherry and Ada. If they had his sample of the G-Virus, he would of course want that as well. We also know that he tried to impregnate Sherry with an embryo that was going to rewrite her genetics altogether.
The good citizens became zombies, and the city had headed for its devastating fate. Humans were no match against zombies. In the chaos, Umbrella Europe applied a new type bow called Nemesis. The Nemesis would hunt down and destroy the surviving member of S.T.A.R.S, Jill. It became imperative that our organization also obtain the Nemesis data.
What was that?
Wait! Don't shoot!
Get down!
To cover up the whole affair, Umbrella jettisoned a tyrant to take care of Leon and Claire, who were trying to unveil their secrets.
My name's Claire. What's yours?
Sherry.
Then a new revelation. Birkin used to hide the findings of his studies in his daughter Sherry's pendant. It was very possible that the G-Virus was there. While Umbrella was busy with their cover-up, we had to capture Sherry before they did. I sent Ada undercover to seek the location of Sherry. I, the dead man, on the other hand, had to work in the shadows.
Now, Wesker makes a comment about working from the shadows. My buddy took it to mean literally he was in the shadows, following everyone around.
What was that all about?
I think it's more likely that he just meant that he had to work secretly as opposed to in the field.
A spy's obligation and priority is in the mission, to carry out the mission like a machine without any emotional interference.
Ada! Ada! Can you hear me?
But through her interaction and involvement with Leon S. Kennedy, there had been an affection growing inside her.
But I'll only slow you down with these injuries. Go. Save yourself.
I told you, it's my job to look after you.
But you'll be in danger if you stay with me.
My instincts sensed danger. Something had to be done, quickly.
Leon.
My instincts did not disappoint me.
I've been waiting for you, Leon. So just hand over the G-Virus. That's why I told you to leave without me, but you wouldn't listen.
Even though Ada almost had her hands on the G-Virus, which Leon acquired from Sherry, that affection of hers drove her to her death.
Don't give up.
Goodbye.
But she was still of some use. I had to save her life.
During our playthrough of Resident Evil 2, I mentioned that I felt this was the most appropriate conclusion for Ada and Leon's story. Ada falling from here left her fate more ambiguous. For example, we don't know how far she fell or how badly she was hurt, but we do know that she survived this. Wesker even says so much that he sent, I guess, his men to go help her. And whoever did it must have done it quick, because this facility was about to explode. Leon also throws the vial off from here, and I also felt that was more appropriate, because that also leaves the fate of that more ambiguous. But I think it's also important to note that you only get this outcome from Leon A. They seem to be suggesting, though, that the story took the path of Claire A, Leon B. But we'll talk about that a little more later.
So, this is what everyone's been dying for.
My people hurried to retrieve the G-virus that Leon threw away.
Alpha team here. Mission accomplished. Roger. We'll rendezvous at the meeting point.
But Hunk, the only survivor of Umbrella's salvage team, was there before us.
This part of the report lets us know that Hunk was not only part of the story, but he had survived and gotten away with a G-virus sample. Although it seems to suggest that the G-virus sample he got away with was the one that Leon had thrown away earlier. That doesn't quite line up quite right, because Leon threw it away in the laboratory, but Hunk was unconscious in the sewers closer to the police station. It's a minor little thing, but I figured I might mention it.
Our only option left was to bring back Burton, the monster, as the sample specimen, and have him finish off Leon and Claire in order to obtain his combat data.
Here, use this!
Game over.
Although Birkin lost the battle to Leon and Claire, we succeeded in gathering samples of the G-virus from his dead body.
Well, it seems like somebody made a little mistake there, because the monster that Leon is there fighting is Mr. X, or, Agent X if you're a stickler like me. I'm not entirely sure what happened here, if the wrong footage was used or the wrong dialogue was put in there. But if they were talking about William Birkin, and they actually meant Birkin, they would fight him on the train, and the train would get destroyed. So I don't know what corpse they salvaged. But again, Leon fighting Mr. X here, and also Leon fighting Birkin on the train, would imply Leon Scenario B, not Leon Scenario A. And sure enough, it does look like Ada was there to throw him the rocket launcher. Even this cutscene we're watching right now, we would only get if we went through Leon Scenario A.
That was a close one. That was pretty impressive back there, Sherry.
It was nothing. I saw someone do that on TV once.
Come on. We've got to move out.
Now what's the problem? Is something following us?
Hey, we still have a job to do. Let's go.
Go? Oh, you can't mean...
Chris, I have to find you.
I guess we're all set.
All right then, we're out of here.
Oh no.
It's here.
In the morning, the government bombed Raccoon City in an attempt to stop further viral outbreak. This was, of course, their feigned reason. Later, Claire left for Europe to find her lost brother, Chris, and Leon joined forces with an underground anti-Umbrella organization. Sherry is safe in our hands. I would never underestimate Birkin. There's something about this little girl.
So there you have it. That is the Wesker's Report bonus DVD. It ends with him saying that they have Sherry in his custody. And depending on which game of Resident Evil you play, you either get the impression that Sherry ran off with Claire, or that she ended up in some sort of government protection. Now, much later in the game series, we would find out what happened to Sherry, but by then I was done with Resident Evil. Resident Evil had evolved into something that I wanted no part of anymore. He also mentioned that Claire ran off to Europe to look for Chris, which would lead us into Code Veronica. But he made a comment about Leon going into a secret underground anti-Umbrella organization. And that also would play into a future Resident Evil game. That would be Resident Evil Gaiden, which we'll eventually take a look at. Now, even though the Wesker report is finished, there is a little bit more left, and we're going to watch a trailer that is at the end of the report for Resident Evil Code Veronica. Now, of course, Code Veronica would be Code Veronica X at this point. So let's look at the new trailer. Alright, well there you have it. That was the Wesker's report, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. Now, even though I didn't get to watch this when it originally came out, I was aware of a lot of the information presented in it, which did help me kind of appreciate more of the Resident Evil story, and kind of laid more of the groundwork that would lead into Resident Evil Remake and Zero. In fact, as I understand it, there was a revised version made for Resident Evil Zero. Well, a revised version that included information from Remake and Zero. I have not seen that, but I've read the transcript. I don't really remember too much of a difference. There was also a second Wesker's report, called Wesker's Report 2, which would expand upon the story even further, including games that would come much later in the series. But that's it for now, and I hope you enjoyed our time together with this game and this series, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Take care of yourselves.